people feel it when they know that you are going out of your way for them, that you're making sure. It's like, almost like a doctor, taking care of a patient, like a caring doctor wants to make sure that their patient is in the best care and the best condition. They follow up with them, they check up on them, and they see to it that they're on the pathway to recovery.
Without further ado, going to tonight's incredible guests. Allan Cohn, President of Cohler Fuel, and Ben Cohn, VP, Vice President of Cohler Fuel. Cohler Fuel, established in 1939. Yes, that's 8 decades ago. That's a long time ago. They have been keeping people warm for over 8 decades and has 4 generations of professional heating service and fuel delivery has been providing that at competitive prices. Independently owned and family operated for 4 generations, they service Brooklyn, Manhattan, the Bronx, and parts of Queens. On tonight's show, we will discuss a number of very interesting aspects. Of course, we're going to talk about generational leadership. We got to talk about that. Here, it's family-owned and operated for over 8 decades. How many businesses could say that? There's a story here. Family values in business and how strong customer service leads to customer retention. With that intro, I give a warm welcome. Allan Cohn, Ben Cohn, welcome to Mind Your Business.
Nice to be here, Yitzchok.
It's a pleasure to be here, Yitzchok. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you. It is exciting. And, here you have a father and son. They're working together in the same office. They look very happy and friendly together. Those that are going to watch on the YouTube, you'll see they're smiling. So this is a great story here, all right? Now, Allan, let's jump right in. As part of senior management, obviously, of the company, can you share with us the history of this multi-generational company?
Well, it was started by my grandfather, who was actually a plumber.
Right, okay.
Came from Europe with nothing.
Okay.
But he was a plumber in Europe, and that's what he ended up doing when he came here. Okay. And struggled, hard to put food on the table. Yeah. And had a good reputation for being a great master plumber. And then he saw an opportunity in the 1930s of putting oil burners into boilers that were still burning coal, and had a great following, and then decided, hey, I could deliver the fuel too. I don't have to give it to other people. And that's how he got into it. And my father had no interest whatsoever in being in the business.
Okay.
He was studying to be an engineer, and war broke out. He served in Europe. And when he came back, unfortunately, my grandfather was very sick, and somebody had to take over the family business. And that's how my pop ended up at Cohler Fuel.
So let's even go back to the story that you began with regarding your grandfather. He saw an opportunity. That's what I love sharing on the show. He saw an opportunity. He was first building out the boilers and delivering them,
Correct.
Installing them.
Yes.
But then he realized, hey, wait a second. There's fuel that needs to be delivered in order to make these machines work. Why don't I incorporate that into my range of services that I service my client? Why should they have to start scurrying around I could deal with one person and get it all done, get my house warm.
That's correct. It's funny. There's an old photograph of the store when it was still a plumbing business. A famous picture of a toilet in the front window of the office.
So going back to when he was a master plumber.
He was just doing plumbing. That's right. So that's how we got into the plumbing business, and then that opportunity came up. He bought an old truck. I think it was a milk delivery truck. He put a tank on it, and
fascinating.
That's how we got into that. Yeah.
Now, Allan, let's hear more about how the business has evolved since the early days compared to where we are today in 2022.
Well, it's evolved, but it hasn't evolved.
Okay.
All right. A lot of the same business ethics that and mindset that we had way back then still continues today, and that's part of our strength. The customer service, the dedication to making sure the customer's warm, safe, and always responded to when they need it, and the maintenance is done also. So that those are old school values that we still maintain today, And I attribute a lot of that to our success and continued success.
Now we're going to get to more of that particular subject and how critical it is and how, unfortunately, overlooked it is by so many businesses out there that they don't understand that, you know, the customer is right and the customer needs to be serviced. And we're going to get to that further in the show. But now I turn to Ben, okay, part of multi-generational here. Ben, how did you get involved?
How did I get involved?
Yeah.
Was seeing how difficult it was for my father to do everything by himself, practically. You know, my father really, and to this day, he still does everything that he did back then, but he has me, you know, piggybacking and quarterbacking. And that's the camaraderie of a father and son business. When you're doing things together, you're working together, side by side, nothing could stop you. And that's
special.
That's part of the main reasons why we're still here doing what we love to do to this day. So how did I get involved? I saw that my father was just struggling to do everything by himself. He was spread too thin. And everyone felt and thought that I was too young.
Myself included, by the way.
Exactly. But it was just like, I guess you could say, an inner confidence. It was just an inner confidence. Even at 11 years old, I knew I could do this. I knew I could do it. I would observe, I would watch, and I just took it upon myself.
So at what age?
I was 11 years old when I got my first customer.
Now, was it you started driving the truck then?
No.
I just had to ask that. But 11, this is wild.
That's right. So it just started from there. And then I just gradually kept, expanding my reach within the business into all the different aspects of it. So I started bringing in customers and direct mail, and it was actually, to this day I do that, until this very day. When people get an envelope in the mail that's hand addressed to them.
That's right. It gets opened.
It gets opened. It's not just a label printed, and it's just not going to necessarily just be tossed right into the garbage. So that's what I did back then in 2000, and that's what I continued to do 22 years later. I still do the same handwritten mailings.
So smart, and that's a fact. A envelope that is hand addressed, and with a live stamp, not some machine thing.
Yes, that's
live
correct.
stamp. That the open rate is
I say it to myself. If I personally, I put myself in the consumer's shoes and other people's shoes. If I personally received a letter in the mail, handwritten to me,
that's right.
No matter what it is, I'm going to open it. I'm going to open it, even if I don't know who it is. So it's that psychology and it's that aspect of it that got me broken into the business. And slowly but surely, I started to break into the customer service side, holding their hands, pacifying them, and just keeping the line moving, nursing them along, and letting them know and making them feel that they're family. This is a family-oriented business. We want our customers to feel as if that they're part of the family.
Now, I need to ask a very interesting question. When we were doing research for the show, this is what came up. So, Ben, you started off in the office, and then went into the field, right? You started in the office, and then you went out into the field. Whereas Allan, you started off the opposite, right? You started off with in the field, and then you went into the office. Maybe you could discuss the strategy, what you saw as advantageous from each of your vantage points, the way your career took.
Everybody has to go with their strengths, though.
Yeah.
And I was, growing up, I was always fixing bicycles, working on cars. I loved diagnosing problems. And I used to go out with the old-time mechanics when I was 15, 16, 17 years old. And I liked it, but I swore. They tell you not to swear, but I swore I'd never work with my father after that. So, man plans and God laughs.
That's right.
As the saying goes.
Yeah. As the saying goes.
Right.
So that's Allan. Now, Ben, you have an interest. You have a different take.
Correct. Well, it's also timing. It's timing. It's the personnel around you that could really, open up opportunities for you to expand on, your horizons. So it was just a matter of having the right people within our office in order to free me up to put myself out there, to get my hands dirty, to roll up my sleeves, so to speak. So that came in the, later years, even now. So I'm still expanding on it. I'm still working on it, and will continue to do so. And that in itself would help propel Cohler Fuel for the foreseeable future.
Now, I mean, you're talking like, and you have a lot of experience, but Ben looks like he's still 11.
Well, that makes me about 21.
That's correct. And you also look like you're in your 30s. So before we go to a commercial break, please share with us, how could people get in touch with the company and to order fuel? What's the best direct contact number?
The same office number from 1939. Hasn't changed. And the same office location, the same name, the same family, everything.
Beautiful.
718-436-1495 is our main office number. And
what is that again?
718-436-1495. And our website, CohlerFuel.com. Cohler Fuel with a C. COHLER, fuel.com.
I have in studio Allan Cohn, Ben Cohn. This is a very special show because how many businesses, I mean, I'm just going to turn to the listeners right now. How many businesses can you think of that are multi-generational, that have stayed within the family for 8 decades or longer? There aren't many. Maybe you can count it on a hand, maybe 2 hands. And certainly if you're trying to think of one that comes to mind right away, you'll be challenged. So here, Cohler Fuel has that. And that's why we have 2 generations in the room. We have Allan Cohn and Ben Cohn. Thank you so much for joining me here on Mind Your Business.
Great to be here.
Thank you for having us.
Now, before the break, we were talking about starting off in the field or starting off in the office, and you each had a different plan. Not necessarily that you scripted it that way, but that was just the way it evolved. Here's just an interesting question, because certainly as time went on, you probably gravitated to the things that you really love working on. Perhaps I'm going to turn to Allan first as the father, and then to Ben. How important, and maybe you can elaborate on the aspect that a person's got to love what they're doing. They got to love it.
You have to have a passion. You have to want to get up every day and do what you do. It's not something that you're not going to continue succeeding if it's drudgery. If it's just something you think you have to do to pay a bill, then I feel like I might as well just take a city job or something like that. There's a lot that goes into running this business. It's a very complicated business. We're running a fuel business, delivery business, service business, installation business, and there's a lot of factors that go into keeping all the gears meshed and running properly. And there's a lot of back office stuff that goes on that mostly is done by Ben. Nowadays, I did it for a good 30 years, and I'm happy to have him do it.
Amazing.
But you mentioned about the everyone has to go to their strengths, and my strength was always I love to work with my hands. I love to diagnose problems, think out of the box, and come to solutions. But when I ended up finished college and I didn't want to sit at a desk all day, and I came to my father, he says, well, you're going to do it my way. You're going to not just do service. You're going to learn how the trucks operate. You're going to go out and do sales, even though you don't like it. You're going to go out and do customer service and all the other aspects of the business. You're going to know how to do all this stuff. And if you want to do service after that, that's fine. But you got to know how to run and wear many different hats. And we both do.
Now, before I go to Ben, that's a very interesting point that everyone's got to realize. A person should ideally work within their strengths. However, if push comes to shove, there's certain things in the business that need to get done. A person's got to be ready to roll up their sleeves. Some people are prima donnas, like, oh, that's not in my turf. I can't. That's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's not in our vocabulary.
Right. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Now I turn to Ben. Explain how important, from your perspective, is it that someone is passionate, they're really driven to get up every day? How important is that?
It's everything. It's everything, because it's the kavona. You could appreciate that. It's the kavona. You really, really have to love it, because it's a reflection on not only us, but our company, our reputation. And, people feel it. People feel it when they know that you are going out of your way for them, that you're making sure it's like, almost like a doctor, taking care of a patient, like a caring doctor wants to make sure that their patient is in the best care and the best condition. They follow up with them, they check up on them, and they see to it that they're on the pathway to recovery. So you could attribute that and relate that to our business. Obviously not being doctors, but we're, professionals in terms of the boiler service, maintenance, fuel deliveries. And so that's very important to people's, day in and day out lives. We have, throughout the year, we have a lot of interactions with our customers. It's not just, invoice in and invoice out. They're dealing with us with all different concerns. They have tenants, they have small children, elderly people living in their homes or in their investment properties. And, they interact with us probably more than any other vendor that, that they have on their, that they have to do with their home.
Right. The real interaction.
And the fear of 311, tenants calling 311. You have to respond.
Mm-hmm.
So can you elaborate on that?
Well, if there's no heat in a commercial property or apartment house, they're not going to wait 24 hours for you to come. They'll maybe 2-3 hours the most.
Right.
You have to be there.
So that's why at Kohler that you respond.
We have to be there.
You're there.
We have to be there. We prioritize. We make sure people get the service they need. We need to keep them warm, keep the tenants warm, and make everybody happy. And you have to take a lot of pride in what you do. It's not just a regular job.
We're speaking with Allan Cohn and Ben Cohn of Cohler Fuel. Ben, tell me about, please, the company process. You handle, you oversee drivers, delivering the oil.
Right.
And you oversee the process from start to finish.
Correct.
Could you talk about the importance of process and, to use the expression, no pun intended, running a company like a well-oiled machine? Sorry, I had to get that in.
Good line. Good line.
I like that. Every day is a different challenge. You never know what to expect. Every property and every situation, every issue is unique within itself. And, I really praise and attribute to, to having the right people around me. Nice. It's all, My father and I, we can only do so much. But what makes us look as good as we look are the tremendous people around us, and treating them right. Because then it trickles down to the customers, to the vendors, to the suppliers, and it's that culture that we like to inhabit and incorporate, which has led us to still being on our own 2 feet, independently owned and operated, and not under the roof or umbrella of any of the big corporations or conglomerates that are, within our industry today, that have basically scooped up all of our, smaller competition, particularly over the last decade.
So this actually is a big strength of yours, that even in your marketing, you could actually advertise and let the world know and let the region know that you're not just a big box operation or big. In B2C, it's big box retailer, but in your industry, just some big company that's out there. And again, we're not saying that they don't have good service or they do have good service. We just, at the end of the day, at Cohler Fuel, you're able to look the customer in the eye and say, listen, we're a multi-generational business. We've been around for 8 decades. It's the family. Family pride is on the line. We're just not going to let anyone down.
Correct. And that's part of the passion and loving what you do. And there's no excuses. There's no such thing as leaving a customer down. There's no, how many times I've gotten calls from new customers that their other company left them down, no heat, no hot water for 2-3 days. And then it's you really come across things like that. It's that type of neglect that puts good people right into our laps. And that's also what feeds our company and keeps us going and growing. It's a real blessing. It's a real blessing.
We just had an incident 2 weeks ago. A 16-family co-op in Park Slope called us. The super messed up. He forgot to order fuel. And it was a Friday afternoon, 3 o'clock, and his company said, all right, we'll be there Monday morning.
And they were empty.
Yeah, they were empty. So
no heat, no hot water, and 12 of the 16 units are all occupied by senior citizens. On blood thinners and all types of medications.
Yeah,
they need their heat.
They need their heat.
I got there that evening. There was a bunch of chaos going on within the building. The left hand didn't know from the right didn't know from the left. I went there myself personally. I spoke to them on the phone. I said, I just went with my gut instincts. I said, let me go there myself. I'm old-fashioned in that way. I'm old school. I like to do things like we're doing right now, face-to-face, one-on-one. And I think we get the best and the most out of everything and everybody. I spoke to the super. I spoke to the board members. Everybody was on board. They signed up with my application. And the next thing you know, my driver pulled up, delivered the fuel. My technician, within 10 minutes after that, pulled up, started the boiler. No more tsuris.
By the way, at mybradio.com, that's where you can access all the past guests that we've had on this amazing program since we started back in 2015. It's a lot, hundreds of interviews with superstars, CEOs from all types of industries. And tonight we're catching up with Allan Cohn, President of Cohler Fuel, and Ben Cohn, Vice President of Cohler Fuel. Thank you so much for joining me here on Mind Your Business.
Great to be here.
It's a pleasure.
Now, I hope I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but is there any innovation in your industry? Perhaps you could share it?
Oh, absolutely. The
I'd
product
love to
that
hear.
we're selling is almost unrecognizable from the product I was working on when I was 15 years old and from my father's time. It's a cleaner product. Okay. They've removed the sulfur from it. It's blended with renewable biofuels now. And I think by next year will be the cleanest burning fossil fuel in the industry. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the technology's improved vastly. I mean, the clean burning and maintain the safety of the product and the reliability. I'm out in the field and I see it all the time. It's incredible. And Ben can attest. There's constant improvements. There's a laboratory out in Long Island that's constantly testing new biofuels to be blended. They're increasing the blend ratios. And, you know, we're in a different world today. We have to keep up, and we have to take the lead. And it's a constant battle. What government wants, that's another story.
Getting
for
the
another
message
day.
out there to the consumer, which is another battle within itself.
Right.
You know, this product, our innovative product, has been on the market 10 years this year. So we've more than broken it in, and it's available today. We sell it.
Now, I imagine during the pandemic over the last year and a half or so, 2 years, you know, please God that it's over. There's been many challenges. First of all, getting to people. People were home a lot more.
Correct.
And you had to be there. I mean, when people needed fuel, you got the call and you had to be there.
Like everything else, it was an adjustment. Just, you know, even the delivery patterns and schedulings, because people were staying home and still are, and we're making, instead of, let's say, people's tenants or just the people who live there being out and about at their workplace all day and having the heat off or having the heat low, all of a sudden they're blasting the heat practically 24 hours a day.
That's right.
So we had to make it, you know, as always with everything else, just constantly keeping up and making the necessary adjustments.
Now, over the last few months, the price of oil has gone up quite a bit, right? Can you tell us how your company has maintained, great customer service while at the same time, you know, the price of oil is out of your control? I mean, so that's how do you deal with that? It's a delicate subject.
It is, but it's just a matter of communicating with the customers. You know, you have to educate them, and you have to just, you have to maintain a certain level of calmness while you're in crisis. Yeah. You don't want to dig the hole even deeper. So what I tell people is the market is the market. I can't control the outcome of that. That's out of my hands. It's out of my control. That's commodities. That's Wall Street. We're regular people here on 14th Avenue in Brooklyn. Right. So two completely different worlds.
But we also know from historically, high prices are not sustainable. So.
Like everything else, it fluctuates. Like everything else, it has its ups, it has its downs. But in order to weather the storm and the turbulence of it, what I stress on the customers is, let's control what we can control. What's in my hands?
Very smart.
And that's the maintenance. And that's what I preach, and that's what I emphasize the most to everybody. When I when I try to get new customers to deal with me, I tell them, do you want to talk about the price or do you want to talk about actually saving money? They're two completely different things.
That's fascinating because most people are like it's the same thing.
What's your price?
Right.
And that's the bottom line.
Right.
But when you start to talk about upgrades for their boilers and efficiency improvements, and making it so that they're consuming less fuel and burning less, even with the higher prices, they're still way ahead of the game. Like my father likes to say, would you rather save 20 cents a gallon or would you rather save 20% on your fuel usage and consumption and cutbacks, and at the same time simultaneously prevent breakdowns and aggravation.
That's right.
And frustration, and just keep things running efficiently and smoothly, and also at the same time preserving the boilers and the controls, the parts and the longevity of it, and letting the customers know I'm not just about pumping out invoices to them. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I don't want to change your parts if I don't have to. I don't want to have to put in a new boiler if I don't have to. Let's rehab it. Let's make what you already have better so that you can get the most mileage out of it.
Now, Ben, but it's like you said, is a key word. It's educating the customer.
Correct.
Once you educate them, then it's a different conversation. Otherwise, without education, it's just price. What's your price? But without
Correct.
them understanding maintenance will save you a ton of money in the long term.
Correct.
On commercial buildings, there's a lot of times we come in and the building's being overheated. Windows are open. We find multiple radiators in the house leaking out steam and losing steam pressure and rotting away boilers. People aren't aware of it. We have to hammer it home. We have to keep telling them. And sometimes we even bring our own people in. Oh, I don't have a super. Well, okay. Well, we can't leave it running like that.
Talk about wearing many different hats. We're practically supers for hundreds of buildings. It's just not on the payroll.
Now you mentioned a couple of minutes ago that big companies are taking over the market, but you're staying true to your brand, keeping it in the family. Maybe you could still touch on that again.
Well, we do take a lot of pride in what we do, and one thing I know, my pop always told me. Having the best service, consistently being there, not most of the time, but all of the time, is what's going to put you ahead of the competition. And that's been absolutely the case. There's no doubt. We have a lot of pride in what we do. We have a team effort mentality at the company. We're not oppressive to our workers and employees, and we work together. And Ben knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because I'll get it when things get busy and things hit the fan. I'm not too good to get on the truck and help the driver, move the route along and make deliveries and load the truck and shovel the snow, just to be able to, fill the oil.
Or get helpers for them. And
if we can't, then it's us.
Yeah.
And it's a mutual respect. Whether it's a subordinate, an employee, we don't want to treat them as such. We don't like to micromanage. We like to let people have their space and do their thing and not feel pressured and not be on pins and needles and always looking over their shoulder, because we don't like to inhabit or incorporate that type of environment. I've seen it. I've been as young as I am. I've been around the industry long enough. I've been very fortunate to be around a lot of the old timers, the old-time customers, the old-time company owners, and I was right at the helm.
Part of the transition. Part of the transition. So you get to see, which is amazing. You're able to bring youthful spirit and energy, and yet, learn on the knees of your father and your grandfather. To have that wealth of knowledge that they got by dint
Bring
of
some,
time.
like you said, fresh energy. But understand what really works long term, because we are long term people.
Now, we touched on it, and at Cohler Fuel, you're always stressing the importance that the customer has to always be happy. Can you please share why it's so critical for any business? Let's talk on a business level. Why it's this question might seem obvious to some, but believe it or not, there are many companies that are not good at it. So they need to hear from this. Why is it so key that a company must be obsessed that the customer is happy?
Well, the key word is obsessed. And that's what we are. We are obsessed. We are perfectionists when it comes down to the nitty-gritty detail. And that in itself is what keeps the customers coming back. It's not about the short-term, easy buck. Right. I tell that to people all the time. That's what I was saying to you before, Yitzchok, is that I don't like pushing bills on people. I don't like to just pump out invoices. And people recognize that. They really appreciate that. They're seeing that I'm not trying to just get one over on them. I'm looking to do the right thing by them and by saving them money and all the other intangibles that come with that. And, in most cases, not all, of course. I'm not for everybody. Not everybody's for me. But the results speak for itself. We have enough on our plate that keeps us busy day in and day out, and there's no shortage of people knocking on our door, wanting to deal with us and wanting to do business with us and give us a chance to, so that we could prove who we are and what we're all about. And again, the results speak for itself. We have customers that I've even brought in myself personally from 2000, 2001, 2002. That's 20 years ago or 20 plus years ago. They're still dealing with me today.
Yeah, I have some customers that are still with us. Come on.
No, but there's customers that there are customers that even dealt with my father's father.
That's true.
That deal with me, and they love me, and they love my father. Oh, you remind me of your grandfather. Oh, you remind me of your father. So we like to just keep the trend, synchronized, the same exact formula. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my philosophy.
We're speaking with Allan Cohn and Ben Cohn of Cohler Fuel. How could people get in touch with the company?
You can call our main office number, 718-436-1495. Again, that's 718-436-1495. Or our website, kohlerfuel.com. That's Cohler Fuel with a C, Cohler, fuel.com.
My guests this evening are Allan Cohn and Ben Cohn of Cohler Fuel. We're talking about so many different aspects of being successful in business, multi-generational, how to keep a business in the family for decades. They've been in business for over 8 decades. As astounding as that is to describe, but they're sharing their stories. In case you just joined a little late, no worries. By Tuesday morning, the entire podcast will be up on all the popular channels, especially Spotify and iTunes. And in short order, usually around 2-3 weeks, is when the YouTube episode goes live. If you subscribe to our YouTube channel, then you will be automatically notified when this episode goes live. On YouTube, we're at 710 WOR Mind Your Business. On YouTube, 710 WOR Mind Your Business. Click on subscribe, and you'll be notified when the show goes live. Well, in the last segment of the show, we still have quite a bit to cover. In doing the research for the show, it's fascinating how your company has such a, thank God, a very, very high retention rate. And you have lifers. You have customers for life. Customers that now I turn to Ben, I turn to Allan, your father, your grandfather was servicing, and you're still servicing today. And even your team. You have lifers on your team, people that have been with the company for years, decades. What's the secret to getting that done? It's not so easy. What's the secret? How do you get that done? How do you pull that off?
I would say always doing the right thing. Always doing the right, and always being there for them. And that starts from day one. But you can't stop there. You can't let your guard down. You got to be there for them. People are cold. People need service. They can't wait. They want it done right. And they don't want excuses.
Now you said it has to be done right from day one. Perhaps you give it I'm sure you have some great stories of where you came through for someone on day one, and maybe it's just a recent story or a story that happened 4 decades ago. Share. Am I putting you on the spot?
No, we have a lot of stories.
Okay, yeah, share. Please share.
We had one about 2 weeks ago. A woman was dealing with a large company which had bought out her previously family-owned company.
Okay.
And she was somewhat satisfied with them until this heating season where she had to call 5 times, and there were always different problems. One mechanic would come, said it's this. The next mechanic would say, no, the other guy was wrong, it was this. And they never could find the problem. There was a fuel leak. And then they said, this part is defective and we're not going to deliver anymore. And she just got disgusted. She knew she was given,
bum rap.
Bum rap, thank you. And that's how she ended up calling us. And we came in, we found the problem, we diagnosed the problem. There was more than one problem, but we solved it, we took care of it. She was like, "You guys are done?"
Magicians.
He said, "You're done?" I said, that was it? I said, "Yeah." I mean, we spent a few hours there. Right. It's not a 1, 2, 3 when you have to take care of other people's problems, and
That's right.
but that's what we do.
And she was surprised that we weren't looking to push massive bills on her. I said, no, that's not what we're all about.
Right, not just, you need a new boiler.
They told her that.
I would imagine.
Her guard went down, and she was just so comfortable with us, and she said, "Thank God I found you guys."
So,
that's a potential lifer. I don't see her going anywhere.
That's right. And, we've been talking about customer service and customer retention. Could you expand these two? They're connected, but how do they affect one another, the customer service and customer retention? Which, at the end, now, this may seem obvious to those that are good at it, but at the end of the day, every business wants retention. You want to get a customer in, and then you don't lose them forever. But without servicing them to the nth degree, that ain't going to happen.
That's part of not cutting corners and actually doing it right. I know a lot of this stuff we're talking about could be cliche. I'm sure you've heard other guests on your show talking about a lot of the same things, but it really boils down to that. Not letting anything get in the way of taking care of your customer. That's priority number one. Even if it's midnight, you're not going to leave someone in, 15 degrees without heat or hot water. Regardless of your situation and where you are at that point in the evening, it's a lot of it is, touch and go. It all depends on what comes up and when and who and where and why and how. It's really that simple. I know it's cliche, and again, I know you've heard this, I'm sure, from your other guests on your show, but it really it's a matter of actually committing yourself to doing it that right way.
Consistently.
Correct.
This reminds me, one of the amazing guests that we've had over the years is someone by the name of Shep Hyken. Shep Hyken is a world-renowned customer service guru. And he actually quotes, I think it was like one of the former CEOs of the Ritz-Carlton hotels. And he said, the key to building a great business and being successful is being consistently good, but consistently all of the time. He said, and he gave an example. Someone goes into a restaurant, and sometimes the steak is good, but sometimes not. Sometimes it's really below par. You're not going to go there. But if there's a place you go, it may not be amazing, but it's good. But every single time it's good.
Right.
You're going back there.
Correct.
So catching up with you, you are an example of being better than average, excellent, but consistently. Your customers are calling you. They're getting a response.
Don't give them a reason to say no.
Right.
Don't give them a reason.
Yitzchok, we've gotten many customers because the customer service reps at the big companies have actually been nasty to people who've been waiting like a day or two for service, and they're frustrated, and instead of sympathizing with them, they get nasty with them, and then
they're gone. They're bolting.
And the bigger companies think who they are. Right. And for us, every customer is
precious.
Special. Exactly. We truly, truly treasure our customers. That's the difference.
Now, Ben, as the next incoming generation to the business, can you share why it's important that company has to keep their morals, their values, and even potentially, if it's possible, to build on it from the way it was over the past many decades?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, look, it's a lot of what was, that you don't want to change, but it's also, having to keep up with the times. So to make things more convenient for customers and, texting us or emailing us and, those types of, minor adjustments, conveniences. Right. And, today's world with instant gratification. So it's just, I guess you could say, a bit more hand-holding, so to speak, and having to be on the phone and follow up with them, even more so than you used to. So it's just keeping up with the times, but also not losing the old-school traditional values that got us to where we are. So it's just not forgetting where you came from and also not getting in over your head. And, like I said to you before, Yitzchok, I've been fortunate enough to learn right at the right hands of the best people in the business and the best customers in the business, such as great landlords, old school savvy landlords, that really, really showed me the right way. And I to this day, continue to carry those same values and the same concepts, and it's just works. It just works. And why would I want to change it? Because I've been in situations, my father will laugh about this, where, I know I'm a young guy, but like I said, I grew up with the old timers, so I have a little bit of both worlds, which is the way I carry and conduct myself. Right. But my father will laugh at this, because when an heir takes over a property, everything that you did for the previous people, it all goes down the drain. Right. It goes down the drain. Right. And then the new kids come in. It's a new relationship, whether it's a new owner of a home or whether it's the heir, that took over the property through their relative, whatever the relationship might have been. And then they come in and they start trying to bully me around, and, how we're not doing right by them, and, how they know better than I do. And so I've dealt with that arrogance. I've dealt with it. I've been subjected to it. So therefore, I've learned I don't want to impose my will on other people, thinking who I am and that I know better. So I learned that at a very early stage of my life. I really did. And like I said, I still carry that with me to this day. And that's why the old timers still love dealing with me.
They do.
They really do.
They do.
We're running low on time. It's around 3 minutes left, but perhaps
make it count.
Yeah, make it count. And this is perhaps one of the most exciting parts of the show, and that is dad, son working together in the business. Those that know the show here, Srilly, he runs the entire video side of it, and besides guitar and other things that some have heard in the recent shows. We've just traveled to Israel together. We've been to Reno and to France for our clients. And father and son working together is special, is precious. And I'm turning now to Allan and then to Ben. Talk about this. Talk about how special it is and potentially some challenges. Maybe you could share with the audience your trick, your secret the secret sauce that has made it successful for you, and going back actually 8 decades.
I'd have to say it's respect. It's a culture of the company that's passed down of how you have to do the right thing, and understanding that even though I've been doing certain things in a certain way for many, many years, maybe Ben or the next generation has some better ideas. Some might be worthy, others not. But you have to have that respect, and you got to give a little space.
That's a great way. That's a great answer. Yeah. That's a great. Now I turn to Ben. You try to outdo that.
No, it's. I'm gonna, echo basically what my father said. It is a mutual respect. It is, like I said just a few moments ago, not getting in over your head and not imposing your will and not thinking who you are. You got to humble up. You have to humble up. People don't want to deal with arrogance, and neither do I. So I try to put myself in other people's shoes. I don't want to treat people. I wouldn't want to treat people the way I wouldn't want to be treated. Right. So working with my father is the best. It's the best thing that I've ever experienced in my life, because I've seen it before where other fathers and sons, all they do is butt heads, and all they want to do is just tear each other apart, and that of course is destructive to the organization.
The clients will feel it, and the
clients feel it, the employees feel it, all the way from top to bottom.
So amazing. Now, Srilly, I'm not going to put you on the spot now, but on a future show, I got to put Srilly on the spot.
I'd love to hear that episode.
Well, next time we'll have to have a whole sit-down. Right. Father-son, father-son.
Right.
What is father-daughter? Do I hear father-daughter?
That's sure. That's okay.
No exclusions here.
Okay. Or mother-son. That's all good.
Absolutely. But it's open-mindedness, and but it's mutual open-mindedness. It's a two-way street, just like with everything else in life. So my father being open to my ideas, me being open to his, and just old school, old-fashioned, just bouncing things off of each other and feedback, and just perfecting it, getting it down to the right science.
I'm blessed because
it's communication.
Of the show. because of the show, I get to meet so many wonderful people, and this has been such a great show. But if you're just tuned in, by Tuesday morning, the entire episode will be up at mybradio.com, and of course on the Spotify and iTunes. But the easiest way to access it is on the platform that's dedicated to the show, mybradio.com. Before I let Allan and Ben go, how could people get in touch with the company?
Could reach us at our main office number, 718-436-1495. Again, it's 718-436-1495, the original phone number from 1939.
Fascinating.
And you could also check us out on our informative website, KohlerFuel.com. That's COHLER Fuel.com.
Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe to this channel and be notified every single time a new video goes live. Don't miss out on any of the weekly interviews that I have with top business leaders, sometimes Fortune 500 executives. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications.